the Hevelow. In 1975, DJ Kool Herc, also called Kool DJ Herc, secured a steady gig at the Hevelow, a famous Bronx venue located on Jerome Avenue, between Tremont and Burnside. This building was later turned into a car park. Herc had started to work professionally as a DJ in 1973. He got his first professional job at a place called the Twilight Zone. According to the legend, one night, as he was handing out flyers for one of his parties at the Twilight Zone in front of the Hevelow, one of the most popular venues, Herc was asked to leave the premises by the security staff. He then promised he would be back to play in this club. 2 years later, his fame had peaked to such a level in the Bronx and beyond that the Hevelow eventually hired him as a resident DJ. At that time, Herc was among the first DJs to have his own home base. Others were mostly restricted to house parties. Shortly after, he joined forces with Kool Herc and Clark Kent and formed the first rap crew known as Kool Herc and the Herculoids. Herc's period at the Hevelow is often considered as pivotal since he most likely started to specialize in short breakbeats while DJing at this club. He notably turned the incredible bongo band's Apache into what he calls the national anthem of hip-hop. Herc, who had discovered the bongo rock album through his colleague DJ Timmy Tim, used its explosive track, Apache, to drive the Hevelow's dancers crazy. As he explains in a recent New York Times interview, he used this record to start what he called the merry-go-round, which was a segment where he played all the records with beats that he had in his collection. He would use that format at the hypest part of the night, between 2:30 and 3 a.m. As the merry-go-round evolved, Herc played extended percussion-driven sections of songs through hand manipulation of his turntables, thus creating magnetic rhythmic breakbeats that later developed into rap music as we know it today. According to Bill Brewster and Frank Broughton, Bill Brewster and Frank Broughton have done pioneering work on the history of gene, particularly in their 1999 book Last Night a DJ Saved My Life, The History of the Disc Jockey. The book chronicles the history through several genres, including in-depth chapters on hip-hop. Brewster and Broughton's story of the merry-go-round follows the idea of Herc's innovations coming in 2 distinct steps, similar to the later versions of Hermes and Charnas discussed above. First step. One West Bronx night in 1974, Herc tried an experiment. That night he tried playing a series of breaks one straight after the other, missing out the other parts of the songs. Following an enthusiastic response, Herc continued his experimentation. Brewster and Broughton explain the second step, quoting Herc himself at the end. Right away, Herc began to always include a sequence of breaks in the music he played over the course of a night, and he started to buy 2 copies of each record so that he could repeat the same break back to back. He would still play records in full, older funk tracks including a lot of James Brown, and the latest disco numbers. But there would always be a set of records aimed squarely at the ears of the b-boys. He even had a name for this part of the night, the merry-go-round. See, once you hear it, you gotta hop on. You're not coming back, you gotta hop on. You're not coming back, you're going forward. So while the definition of the merry-go-round is not exactly clear, the debut of Herc's innovations are squarely put well after the August 11, 1973 party into the following year. Brewster and Broughton conducted a large numbers of interviews with central participants for the book and also list a number of other sources at the end. Books, magazines, websites, etc. But the book does not contain any specific reference throughout, and it's not possible to trace individual claims. In their list of sources for the book, they include an interview Broughton did with Herc in New York on September 30, 1998. Presumably this is the source for many of the claims about Herc's story. A decade later, Brewster and Broughton released The Record Players, the story of dance music told by history's greatest DJs, which includes a version of this interview with Herc. Broughton asks, "So when you started playing breaks, which year is this?" To which Herc replies, 1974B. This would explain the dating in the 1999 book. However, a decade after this, Red Bull Music Academy Daily publishes another version of the same interview. But now the exchange looks like this. When you started playing breaks. Which year is this? Early 70s. As it turns out, Broughton has also made audio from the interview available at the Rock's Backpages website. Here's how it plays out on that original recording, beginning at 50:20. Broughton. So the break. When you started playing breaks. Which year is this? Herc. That's in 75, 76. Broughton. And it was in the Hevelow? Herc. Yeah, Broughton. And did. Herc. It was earlier than that, too, 'cause I had funky music before I came up to the Hevelow. It was earlier than that. I played it, but I never, really put a lot of emphasis into it.